I am a really big fan of playing Warhammer the Old World. I have been having so much fun with my friends, both in real life and online. And today, I'm going to introduce you to an amazing way to be able to play and practice Warhammer the Old World on your computer. The files are in the computer. Yes, that's right, you heard it right. And you've probably heard me refer to warhall.eu breathlessly a number of times on Square-based if you watched any shows in the last month. The reason why I'm so excited about this platform, this way to actually play rank and flank tabletop games in a not maddeningly frustrating way, is that we're at the beginning of hopefully something really cool. And one of the biggest threats, I think, to Warhammer the Old World taking off as a game that's really viable, I don't think it has anything to do with old models or hard to learn rules or anything like that. I think it has more to do with the fact that everyone, for the most part, is starting from scratch. They don't have armies right now. They maybe have never played a game like this, a rank and flank game in the model of Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and they may not have anyone nearby that they're even able to try and play it with. So there's a lot of tall asks, a lot of big barriers to entry to even get a taste of the game. Because the other thing is you may not like it as much as I do, or a lot of the other people who like it a lot. So it would be great if there was a way to pick up Warhammer the Old World without a whole lot of upfront investment, if you will, or without having to have an entire army of at least assembled miniatures, or without actually having someone physically nearby who's super into the game. It'd be awesome if there was like an inter something that you could play on. And in fact, there is. Warhall.eu. Now, this is a platform that would look very familiar to anyone who's bashed their head against the wall that is Tabletop Simulator. Tabletop Simulator is an option that's out there that's more of a sandbox. Essentially, it gives you an open platform to play any game you like. You can use it for role-playing games. You can use it for Warhammer 40,000. You can even use it to play Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer the Old World. The issue is, though, is it's not designed for any specific game, so it's terrible at playing all games, even with a lot of great community tools having been developed over the years to support it. Now, I'm being a bit of a baby about it, and there's lots of people who super enjoy it, and it's a great thing, and they get a lot of value out of it. But for me, I've always found the experience on Tabletop Simulator to be kind of like trying to play Warhammer with oven mitts on. It's not the best. So when I saw warhall.eu, I was kind of intrigued. And then I found out that it was designed originally for Ninth Age, which was a community-built version of Warhammer Fantasy Battles that came out after the end times. And so I gave it a shot. And the result has been that I've been playing probably more actual tabletop games, well, I guess fake tabletop games, than I have of any edition of anything, Warhammer 40,000 or Warhammer Fantasy. And I've been able to practice. I've been able to learn. I wouldn't say master, but I'll be able to get the closest to mastery that I've ever been able to get to because I'm able to practice against any one of my friends who are all over the place. So that's really powerful to me. And I also got a chance recently to touch base with the developer of Warhall, talk to him about why he created the platform and what makes him excited to do this. I just really think that it's an amazing tool created by a guy who wanted to play more games with his friends. And that's exactly what I want. And I can tell you, having gone to an in-person IRL RTT just this past weekend, that having been able to play the game on Warhall over the last couple of weeks, say 10 games or so, meant that when I went to that tournament, I barely had to reference my rulebook. I knew how my army worked. I had iterated it and helped craft it over a number of games rather than just taking a guess at what I was doing and what might be good. And so I felt like I had a wonderful day playing. It wasn't stressful at all. I felt very comfortable in the rule set. And a lot of that, in fact, all of that, I owe to being able to practice online against great players all over the place. So I really think this is a great tool. I hope you'll stick around for this interview because coming up right now, with a much more disheveled version of myself, is Hugo, the developer and creator of warhall.eu. Hugo, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Wout, for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure, and it's a pleasure to play Warhall. I'm worried, I was saying before the show that I'm a little worried that this is going to come across as an infomercial, because I am genuinely enthusiastic about this. I think it's an incredible tool. What's your deal? Have you been playing tabletop for a long time?
I am. I have been playing for about 37. I started when I was 8. That's 29 years.
Okay.
29 years. I mean, I was 8, started collecting, but not really playing. I was later on, right?
Yes.
But I fell in love with the Grom the Punch, I remember. I had
really?
some older friends show me Grom the Punch, and I was like, I love this guy.
So, I mean, there's one thing of loving a very rotund goblin warlord on a chariot to all the way to like creating, a fully fledged platform or designing a program to be able to play digitally. What made you feel like you wanted to go from playing on the tabletop to actually making a tool like this?
Yeah, good question, and a long story. Yeah, so I always enjoyed to play games. When I was a teenager, I used to go to tournaments. I'm from Spain. I live like 50 km from Madrid, and I used to go down to Madrid for tournaments and stuff. And then I left my country, went out to study somewhere else, and I couldn't play with my friends. So then I found Universal Battles back then.
Mm-hmm.
But being a war gamer and a video game, I was studying computer science back then, and I liked computer games. And they released this Total War, and I had Total War on one hand and had UB on the other one, and I was like, why can't UB be like Total War? Right? Why can't we play like a real strategic game? Like, because Total War is fine, it's cool when it comes to a video game, but you're not playing actually the real Warhammer, right? You're not playing this chess game with tactics and stuff where you do your list, and so I wanted to have both.
Right.
And I was hoping somebody to do it, and then years passed, nobody was creating it, and I decided to make a try. So me and Tomas, which is my colleague since we're in high school, he does the art.
Okay.
As we had the complementary skills to do this, we tried. And we did like 6 months. We invested like 6 months in it to do a little prototype, and then we could play. And we were like, I think this is cool. I think war games could be played in 3D very good. That was the test.
And I will say that one of the things about playing on TTS, the interface really does prevent immersion in the game. There's that barrier, right? If you're using a medium to interact with something, that's going to change the experience. I found on Warhall though that the user interface, the UI, to be quite seamless. So it's not a barrier to it, and most people I've seen who've picked it up they've been pretty quickly able to play a game of Warhammer using the platform. When it comes to the UI design and that kind of stuff, is that a background of yours, or was that a focus from the beginning, making it as what's the word I'm looking for? Frictionless, it's very smooth.
User experience, I would say, no?
Yeah.
You would have a smooth user experience. Yeah, that's exactly what I was abiding for, I think is the word. what I wanted. Yeah. Because so when I started playing UB, I think it was like 2008 or 9 or 10 or something. And the experience was far from being user friendly. I wanted a nice user interaction. Actually, my master that I went to Australia to do was in game design, and it was about the user experience when you play. So I personally wanted to have a very smooth experience. I wanted it to be easy to pivot something. I wanted to be exact to pivot something. I wanted to have it seamless to, you pick a character and you drop it in the unit. You don't have to click some attach button. You don't have to do some weird thing. And then once I saw TTS, I found it very clunky myself. I mean, and that's not the kind of experience I wanted for Warhammer.
I don't want this to be also like a let's rag on TTS session, because TTS has its benefits, but TTS is designed as it's not a rank and flank simulator. It's not a Warhammer simulator. It's a tabletop simulator. So it's a sandbox that needs to be able to accommodate all sorts of different games. It's not necessarily designed specifically for this use case. So that's, I think, why having a uniquely created tool is so handy. Now, obviously, when you were developing this, the game didn't necessarily, and the game I mean Warhammer Fantasy, didn't necessarily exist. There was a different game that I assume this was designed for.
Yeah, exactly. Like we started this with Ninth Age.
Were you involved in the development of Ninth Age at all? Like, were you part of that community in any way?
Not at all. Like, as I said, I used to play Warhammer Fantasy with my friends. 6th and 7th edition, I was most active. Then I moved to Sweden for my studies, and that was about 8th edition. So I stopped playing. I did some game in UB, but I didn't really like it. Then the end of world came, end of times came.
Yep.
And there I was like, okay, well, all my told soldiers, then I was in Australia, I think, and it's like, all my told soldiers, they're at home. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. And some years later, a friend contacted me and said, like, look, this is Ninth Age thing. Everybody's playing. And then I reconnected with my hobby, and it was a delight.
So did you ever engage with Ninth Age in real space? Did it come first, or did you create the tool so that you could play Ninth Age?
I engaged with Ninth Age first, and I created the tool later on. But the tool was always in my head already since Warhammer Fantasy.
Cool. Ninth Age is a really cool. It's really an awesome story. I mean, obviously, anyone who's directly involved with it will have different opinions. But from an outside perspective, essentially, Warhammer Fantasy ends, and you have actually, in my view, a lot of the fantasy playing community that was still extremely active were a tournament playing community. So guys who were involved, especially in the ETC. So that's the European Team Championship, which was sort of like the Olympics of Warhammer in some ways. I guess more like the World Cup of Warhammer in some ways. Regardless, a pretty big deal tournament. People who took the game very seriously and probably were pretty beyond heartbroken when Fantasy ended. And what I love about this community is that they didn't just say, okay, well, it's over. I guess we have to play 40K now, which is what a lot of folks did. They actually took the 8th edition rule set and they evolved it into something that was much more, I think, tuned towards tournament play. So something that was a little bit more focused on faction balance, but I think mechanically felt a lot like Warhammer Fantasy. Is that accurate?
It was very much Warhammer Fantasy. Pretty much it was 8th edition with some patches to make it more competitive and more balanced, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
And then with the years, Ninth Age has taken its own direction a little bit, created its own things. I think it was trying to separate from the Games Workshop IP.
Yeah.
And it has introduced its own mechanics and its own things. So now it's sort of a different game from what 8th edition was.
Okay.
But in the beginning, it was really pretty much 8th edition.
So it's evolved on its own. I think I want to plug, because without Ninth Age, obviously, we probably don't have this. We don't have Warhall. Ninth Age still exists, even though Old World has come. I think Ninth Age is still a game worth looking at. I personally am a Warhammer guy. I have that unfortunate disease. I don't necessarily like tabletop games. I like Warhammer, which is, like I realize that in myself. But
that's all of us.
I guess I don't want to skip right past Ninth, because there's gonna be people who love Ninth Age, and I want them to know that, like, there's still gonna be a community alive and well on Warhol. So if your local scene stops playing Ninth Age, it will, I think, survive on this platform. And then also, I think it's a worthy game. I think Ninth Age is well worth a look, and they've just redone an edition. I think they've just updated.
I think they're launching a new edition soon in July. I think.
So
3.0.
So something else is coming out with that. So I think, again, well worth a look, and it's community driven, really awesome. Is there anything else sort of in the background in your lore, Hugo, that you'd want to touch on before we maybe dive in and show off the platform a little bit?
No, I think you put it beautifully. Like the essential is that we are wargamers that just wanted to play nicely online. We wanted to make, as you said, like playing on the tabletop is what we like. Having our social interaction with our friends and the miniatures is what we are in love with, all of us. And this is just a placebo for it. The thing is, if you don't have availability to play, this is what I needed when I was away from my play group. Or here, 50 km from Madrid, it still takes me the whole day to drive down to Madrid, play again, come back, and I have 2 kids, so it doesn't happen.
Yes.
And now through playing online, I can game every night. I can watch my friends game every night. There's tournaments going on.
Hugo, we can play. We can play.
Exactly. It would be impossible. You're in Canada, I'm in Spain, and we can still play. So I think that's its uniqueness. And it makes me connect with the hobby like every 24 hours instead of like once a month. Yeah. And when I was connecting once a month, I was dropping my passion. Whereas here, suddenly I'm close to the heat of the battle somehow, even if it's a placebo. I still prefer it live.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was down to Madrid for a tournament, actually, touching miniatures, and loved it.
Okay, Hugo, without further ado, why don't we introduce the beautiful warhall.eu here? Boom. So we're here. I've already created a game room. This obviously is sort of, the blank slate, the canvas that we're going to create our game on. A very lovely, rocky plain here. Is there any lore behind this background, Hugo? Where are we?
There is no lore whatsoever.
We're in the plains of around Madrid is where we are, right? Although that's a bit more dusty, I think.
And it's not very green, to be honest.
That's right, not too much grass. All right, well, this is our first area. Hugo's already joined the game. What's funny is that actually we wanted to show this because this is maybe the hardest part of the learning curve of of starting a game with a friend. And Hugo, you could tell me, my friend has joined the game with us. So you're my friend, and now how do I give that person control to be able to actually start setting up the game?
So in the upper right corner, we have a little icon where you can see the number of people in the room. So all the observers, everybody in the room is shown there. So if you click it, it expands, and then you right-click on the opponent you want to give play permissions, and then allow him to play. And now me, that I just received permissions, I can summon units. If I don't have permissions, that menu there that says create, I won't see it.
The point on observers, I think, is a good one. If you see one of these sessions and it's an open room on Warhol when you sort of first enter, and you join as an observer, what can you do? Are you able to interact in any way? Are you able to measure the screen? Like, can you do stuff while you're in there?
You can measure, but the players won't see it. So the only thing you can do, like sort of interfering, it's chatting, like writing in the chat.
Okay.
But they cannot touch any of the models. They can click on them. They will see the stats for the models.
Really? Okay, cool. Now, I do notice here we have a number of maps. Are these based on any particular thing? Are they sort of legal maps? What are we looking at here? What's your favorite one?
I do not have a favorite, to be honest. That's a map pack that comes from Ninth Age that we just included until there is a map pack in Old World.
Okay.
That's what we thought. So just to have some pre-made maps, the Ninth Age community is very competitive and did a bunch of balanced maps. So so that's what we included for now.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep randomizing until I see one I like. There we go. There's one good there. Now, our deployment, we'll just do open battle, but obviously we have all of the different options here. So we'll just do open battle for now because I'm lazy. Okay, so now we have our battlefield set up. And now this is kind of the magic, especially if you play TTS. If you've ever, like, putting your army on the table in TTS is, I would say, about as difficult as literally putting your army on a table in real life. You gotta stack them on bases, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna now show you. This is it. This is the wow factor for me. I'm going to put my army on the table. I'm going to hit create. Now, I've already got an army list that I've made and designed on newrecruit.eu because this is a killer feature that I think is worth talking about for a second.
New Recruit, when we were creating the game, still in this prototype where we were just testing how it was to play online, we did a parsing of all the tournament lists, which are in a certain format, and I could just to see if we could import the troops like that anywhere. And I contacted New Recruit guy because he's the one that all the Ninth Age players use, basically.
Yep.
And I showed him, and he's like, "Whoa, that's super cool!" And then we got along really quickly, and we both were working on integration. So now in Warhol, all the data you see comes from New Recruit. That at the same time comes from Battlescribe. So all the data you see is user entered.
That's amazing. Yes.
And many people report to us sometimes if some stats are wrong, and we're like, okay, yeah, just tell the New Recruit guy because that doesn't go through us.
So then it's important to point out the New Recruit is actually a community of, again, folks just like Hugo who are creating tools for us to make use of. They post those sort of those rules lists on the GitHub that actually used to feed Battlescribe. So I think we're not the biggest fans of Battlescribe on this show for a litany of reasons. So this is a great way to actually make good use of the hard work that the people who make those repositories collate and make the information and make it accessible. It's a great way to access it without using Battlescribe, and it's that community that I think a New Recruit comes from. So it's a really, really great way to use it, and it supports a number of different games just like Battlescribe does. You can download an app onto your phone. You can use it in your browser. as long as you create an account on their platform, doesn't cost you any money. You can support them if you wish. You are then able to interface it with Warhol here, and then this is it. This is the magic for me. This is the current list I've been working on and playing with. I'd like to say it's undefeated, but it lost once. Here we go. Deploy. Boom. It is now on the field. How cool is that, Hugo? There's Hugo's list.
There you
go. So we're actually in a position now where we can get ready to start playing a game within a couple of seconds. So all this information is obviously not coming from warhall.eu. This is all accessed from the data repository. So you're not storing any of the rules and things in the system itself. We've got some really great models made by your business partner, correct?
Yep, correct.
So we got, and you're still working through them. I noticed. Like the first time I loaded in, I didn't have this beautiful flying worm for my guy. So like they've been sort of creating assets as you guys have been going on, but I think they stand in great. We got some lovely goblins. The ogres that I played yesterday were really, really lovely. Let's show maybe being able to move units on the field, I think, is some of the most amazing stuff.
Sure. So we try to do it as natural as we could. So if you want to move something, you click it and you drag it. Yeah. And then as the same way you would do on the tabletop, you would hold your unit in the front left corner and then push it from the back corner to pivot it. That's what we try to do with these handlers.
So this actually, to me, wheeling in this environment is unfair because this is not how easy it is in the real world. And it changes my opinion too. It's like it's interesting to see, for example, when you're wheeling IRL in real life, it is probably one of the hardest things to measure accurately. And so if you play on Warhol, you're spoiled because I could wheel, in this case, you can see there 1.5 inches, and then I know that these guys still have 2.5 inches to go. And then also if I use the movement lock, I can't accidentally take them offline. They have to go forward and backwards or side to side, which is pretty cool.
You can use the movement lock just by holding shift instead of clicking that, because then you have it permanently on for whatever reason if you want to.
And that's why we got the developer here, because that's awesome. So shift, that's amazing. Okay.
Plus, if you hold shift on, then the text on the chat shows as blue. That means that it was a straight line. If it's not blue, then it was not a straight line. So you can tell if your opponent is doing it right.
is freehanding it or not. So that's awesome. Okay, and then another great thing about this is obviously the ability to reform.
Yeah, that was going to say before when you said that it was unfair, that it was easier than on the table. Try to do a reform then.
Yes.
Takes you a little bit on the table, whereas here is just 2 seconds.
It's just 2 seconds. So now I've got a nice, what did I do here? 6x5 unit of gobos. Why don't we get deployed and maybe we can show off something here. So I'll take my gobos. I'm just going to throw them up. Oh, I'm in my deployment. So I'm going to put my goblins right here, right in the middle. Okay, cool. We got some fanatics. I'll put them behind just as placeholders. Oh, great. A dragon. I guess we're playing Old World for sure. So I guess my double wyvern, I guess, shouldn't be too precious about there being a dragon. Let's go. We're going to be real quick here, folks, and just get an army, because I think Hugo really wants to show us something that I think is particularly cool. We'll just get some guys out here. Some wyverns. Now, do you play Dark Elves? Like, do you have them for the tabletop themselves, or is this just sort of a? So obviously you brought them to the tournament. Obviously, is it something that you are passionate about? Are they your one and only, or do you have other armies too? You still got an old Gromma Pranch somewhere?
Having at arm's reach all day long.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah, I am happy. I love them. Of course, I've been with this army for about 20 years or something. So I started painting it now and keep on painting it now.
Okay. So I think in the course of doing this, I think what Hugo wanted to do is show off a really, really cool feature of once you get a game going. I think I'm going to maybe call out just maybe a handful of things that I, again, really, really, really enjoy. Is basically how easy it is to move units around. And then something that I make a massive amount of use of, especially, where's your caster? Do you have a caster in your list?
My caster is here. here in the middle of my unit.
So I put on a radius there. I don't know if everyone saw, where I use this little tool to apply an 18-inch radius. So now I have a visualization of that sorcerer's dispel range, and I'm hoping that when I go to the tabletop again, when I'm actually playing in real life, that I'll be able to, in my mind's eye, have a better sense of where that dispel range is much more easily and straightforward. Another thing that I find super useful. Now this is a big unit of crossbowmen, so maybe not. Maybe I'm worried about being in their line of sight. We can turn on the lines of arc for them, which again, this is good for knowing if you can be charged, if they can see you in order to shoot with. And then obviously you can turn them on and off depending on what you want, because it can get pretty busy if everyone's got them on. But those two things I think are really essential for visualizing and learning the game, especially when you're starting out. Perhaps you've never played any version of fantasy before. Maybe you're a 40K person. This sort of front, rear, and side arc situation is sort of a unique thing to rank and flanks compared to skirmishing games. So again, that visualization, super basic. This isn't like we're not launching rocket ships with that level of tech, but I think it's a really great tool for learning and for practicing. And when you go out in real life, it's going to be a little more vivid for you when you're sort of trying to visualize the game state. Anything that you want to point out next?
Another one could be the marking the unit. So once you have, let me remove the battlefield lines here. So when you move, let me mark all my units. This triangle bottom at the top.
Mm-hmm.
All my units will have this white triangle in front of them. So now, if I move my units in order, this, and I do some moves, say, yeah. And I was like, oh, well, let me take back my dragon, for example. Instead of having to Control-C everything that I did, you can just click that triangle there, and then the dragon will pop back.
That's awesome. And that's this function at the top here. I forgot to do that, so now my guys are marked as well. So again, it's like leaving a little token down. I move these guys here. I don't like it. I can move them right back, which is super. Is there a reason not to have this on all the time?
Well, you need to. It's kind of useful because you mark before you move, then you move everything, and then you remark basically.
Got it.
So for your next turn, then you set, and then you have a reference of where you were before moving. So nothing is, the typical situation on the table. You're like, oh, I was here, but I moved my unit. But well, you were not here. You were there.
Yeah.
That little discussion with this is over, because then you can just, if you mark before you move, then you do your moves, and at the end of the turn, you clear your marks. Then you're gonna be fine, because if one of the two players want to check where it was before the move, you just take it back there.
Wonderful. And again, from a practice and learning perspective, if anyone has followed along and watched any of my games in chat, you've witnessed the hemming and hawing and the 30-minute movement phases that I have been finding myself brain locked in. So you're going to have situations where you're trying to make decisions and you do want to do a little take backseat. And because we're all going to be learning here, having the ability to just immediately reset it and then be able to go back is fantastic. So that's great. Okay, so that's marked units. What else are we looking for?
There's another common tool that when you do a charge, when you try to put two units together, basically, there in Warhol by default, the units they snap. Yeah.
Okay.
Like this.
All right.
You see this little, when I drag my unit, when it touches, it snaps to the front, and then you can align it there as you wish. Sometimes when, say you want to flee something, and then you flee through the whole army, you can turn that off. You can turn the magnet off. There's a little magnet in the top.
At the top here, yep.
You just click it, and then when you drag it along, then it would not magnetize. Some people don't find it or don't see it clearly, so I think it's not worth pointing out.
Yeah, and then also that's much like this button right next to magnetize, which is the lock move. If you have lock move and magnetize on, and I think it might be on by default when you first log in, it can suddenly be like, oh, what the hell? I can't move anything. Like, this is so strange. So that's, again, a minor learning curve is maybe when you first sit down, just make sure you toggle off both those things, the magnet and the lock move. We've already learned, big Squarebase pro tip from the dev Hugo himself, that if I hold shift, I don't even have to toggle the lock move on and off. I have that. So that way everything is in free move and much easier. So yeah, that's wonderful.
Yep. Then it's very useful for observers that join a game. If you want to know what's going on the game you joined, you can just click this info button at the top, and then you see that one.
This one?
And then you will see, you will see all the nameplates of everything. You also see which units belong to which player, in case it takes the color of the player.
Okay, is that something I can set up somewhere? Like what my player's color is?
You can check your color. Yeah. So if you zoom in there on your army a little bit, so you would remove the info plates.
Yep.
Please. And then go create, import army.
Import army.
Yeah. Right there, you have this little that one there.
That. Very cool.
Then you can change so you can select 2 different army colors, and you can change the color of your base as well, the border of your base.
Incredible. Okay. Yeah. That's a neat little customization. That'll be fun. Add a little flair.
So you see mine are pink at the moment, and you could just make them, I don't know,
whatever you want.
Dark elves.
Yeah, cool.
Which is not very appealing.
I like that, the info button. So the info button's super good because in it, even if you have this on while you're observing, you can also click obviously on individual units. Maybe another thing that I'll point out that I think is a useful one is that when you have a unit like this, for example, with fanatics in it that they've deployed together, or maybe there's a special character in here, clicking on the unit, and then is it a double click to actually select individuals?
Yep.
And then so from that, you can actually, move them around in their ranks. You can, like me, I'll want to take the fanatics out.
Look at these rules specifically as well. If you want to check the rules of my mage there, you have to double click it.
Yeah, there you go. And the sorceress is there. So that allows you to look at the rules. Also, the rules in the unit cards in the bottom right corner there, you can see you actually can pull up. And this is referencing the rules repository out of the newrecruit.eu stuff. So it's referencing stuff out there. Now, the other one, actually, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit on your list of things to talk about. Because I love to have tow.whfb.app up in a separate window, so that way I can very quickly look up rules. How do we make it so that we're not full screen with Warhol? That's an important one.
Yeah, by default it's full screen, but a lot of people want to play it in window mode, so then you can go menu, settings, game, actually video, sorry.
Oh, my mistake. Yep. And there you go.
And then, in disable full screen, basically, or enable full screen.
Lovely. Yeah, we have the options right there. So that's a really, really good one. If you want to have Discord open, you want to have, anything. Like I said, I like to have my rules resource open, or, codexes or whatever. Makes it very easy to reference, especially if you've got a nice wide monitor like yours truly. It's fantastic.
You can access rules here in Warhol too, because it links with the ones coming from newrecruit. So if you go menu rules, and you want to see what Frenzy does, you just type Frenzy.
Oh, lovely.
Click Frenzy. Click Frenzy there. That's it.
There it is. Sometimes, and the more I've been playing, the more I realize this, you do need the full stuff. So I will often reference off a unit card here, but sometimes there's a reference or something that you need to go look up. So you just want to have all your guns ready. But that is super cool that you can look up anything that way. I find myself interacting with the rules that are available through New Recruit, mostly by what I'm actually on the unit card. They have, especially a weird elvish thing here. Elven reflexes. What does that do? Boom. It's on the screen. Incredibly useful. Okay. Now the next one I think is really, really important, because this is something that I think this is a great training tool in general, because this is not intuitive in real life when you do it. And I would imagine the vast majority of people are going to get this wrong when they first start. And that's when you're fleeing from a unit, you have to flee from the center of the unit. And that's something that specifically, you can't do this in Tabletop Simulator. This is a tool specific to Warhol. Can you walk us through what this is and why it's important?
So once my dragon is charging your goblins there, and they decide to flee, then you can select your goblin unit, press that button there,
align to center,
select my dragon, and it will align the centers and put you ready backwards facing to flee. And now you can just drag your units holding shift, the amount of inches you're going to flee.
Oh yeah, we haven't rolled dice yet.
Yeah.
They're fleeing 7, so I'm actually going to I didn't have my units marked, so I'm going to go Control Z. We're going to back up. And then we're fleeing 7, so now I can just flee 7 inches away.
Yep.
And that is a perfect alignment. Now, one thing that I would love to point out is, like, in combat, this is where things get a little weird, especially if, say, can you maybe put those Dark Riders and offset them to my unit? So let's say that these guys, this is how it wound up, and I wound up needing to flee from them. Let's see if it does something weird here. So there you go. So I would not necessarily be fleeing straight back. Now I'm fleeing sort of on this angle. And let's say I fled the 7 inches again, and that's where I wound up because of the fact that we were offset. So you're a little bit further away than actually 7 inches once you actually pivot to chase me. So I find that this is a great tool specifically for learning and getting used to visually how it looks when you're actually aligned to center correctly and fleeing properly. Okay, so we have a few more minutes left. Did you want to touch quickly on skirmishers?
Yeah, so we are working on having a perfect skirmishers set up. At the moment, you can take any unit. Say let's take this cavalry here and click the skirmisher change formation. There it changes to skirmishers. Here they're separated by default by 1/2 inch.
Yes.
Normally it's okay. It's enough to see that they're skirmishers. But if you need to have them exactly 1 inch apart, you can always drag them out of the unit and kind of just run them separately like this. And then you can yourself put them like 1 inch apart or whatever you need them to. It's very easy to measure the distance between two models because you say I have these two riders over here. If you select one and hover over the other one, you would see the minimum distance in between them.
Yep.
So there, you should say 1.5 inches. You could also, if press V, and then you see all the hold that miniature. Yeah.
Oh,
and then
wow.
you can see there the little line that tells you that you are 1 inch away. You
Lovely.
See here,
yeah. So I've actually wondered what this was for. Okay, cool. So yeah, so that actually gives you the like a little ruler on the table. That's fantastic.
Yep.
The middle wheel mouse button, by the way, also is a free measure. This is one that I didn't realize for a while, so that's very, very useful. Okay, so I think we covered some really good high-level features. There's all kinds of other really awesome things, guys. Like for these fanatics, when you're doing a random direction or a scatter, there's actually a random direction button, which allows you to just pick the direction, and then you'd roll the 2d6. And then shift, and they just move in whichever way they go. He's going 10 inches, boom. I missed everybody, but that's fine. So there's lots of really great quality of life tools like that. I'd recommend looking into it, like just making sure that you hover over each one of these options down here, because again, they're all going to be useful. Even removing casualties, remove a health point here. We'll actually remove models from the unit as we're fighting a battle or whatever, a combat. Now, the final sort of killer feature you really wanted to unveil at the very end, why don't we talk about that for a moment?
Sure. So let's pretend we're playing a game. I did my first. Let's actually start the game first.
Okay. Show us how.
When in the bottom left corner where the chat is, you roll dice. So at the beginning, it always tells you roll for sides. So if we roll 1 dice each,
okay,
we know that I will choose the side now. Now it tells us roll for first turn.
Okay.
It tells you waiting for your opponent. So I roll my dice now. And now we have to say...
I have not noticed this once. Okay, so
right.
The first 2 single dice rolls, it'll know that it's the beginning of the game. Even though we've been rolling dice and doing stuff, it just knows that that's the beginning of the game. Cool.
Yeah. So now if we choose that, for example, now we have to tell who is starting. Say, you're starting? Great. Actually, I was starting.
Were you?
Anyway.
Oh, I stole it. I cheated again.
Say you didn't move your first turn. Say you didn't move your first turn.
Okay.
Click end my turn.
Okay.
All right. And now, you got a screenshot. We didn't talk about that one because that's record functions we have in Warhol. So you can go menu, record, and it can automatically make screenshots for you. Even you can choose to do it like every minute, every 10 minutes, every thing you need. When you end your turn, like you saw, like it happened to you right now, or you can take your own screenshots with Shift P at any point.
Okay, great.
So you finish your turn. It took you a screenshot because you have that option enabled.
Yep.
And now I did my moves. I shot something. I killed some of your goblins, for example, and I don't know. My chariot went into the ruins and died. Say.
Okay.
And then I finished my turn.
Okay. Oh, look at that. Chariot's dead. Yeah.
The chariot. It shows that your goblins took some damage as well, and then you go ahead and do a few moves, and then we can wrap it up.
We'll go up here, and then these guys will come up here, and then my dragon. Where's my war boss is going to kill your dragon.
All right. Pretentious.
Okay.
Right. So you would finish your turn now.
All right, and my turn too.
All right, and we pretend that we finished the game. So you go menu.
Okay.
Game info.
Great.
Here you can always, while playing, you can see your list and your opponent's list if you imported it. And here you can use this screen now to sum the points. So my Dragon Lord died and my chariot died.
Mm-hmm. Here, let me just...
And then say you lost something. My general is dead as well. I mark it here.
Okay.
And maybe lost some banner.
All right, cool. There you go. We'll say you're winning right now. I got your general. Cool.
You're winning.
Well, all right. Well, I killed two things there. Here, I'll kill. We'll say. Okay, so we killed a bunch of stuff. Yep. Now what?
Yep. And now, okay. Here also, North pointing out, you can have things at full points, or half points, or a quarter points, or 75 points. So it depends how many times you click that button. It will show you how many points you get of that unit. And then we click ready once we have our.
It's this one in the middle.
Yep, that one.
Okay. And the battle report was created for you. Okay, so we've ended the game and we've generated our battle report, right?
Exactly. Because Warhol, while you play your game, it records all your moves and your list, and it creates a battle report for you, which you can share with your friends just with a simple link.
So walk us through. What do we do next? We press next on the next button here?
Yep. And then you would see the deployment picture. And
cool.
And then if you keep on passing to the right, you would see each movement phase.
I guess I didn't do any moves in my first movement phase, but there we go. This shows my glorious charge into you. That is really, really, really neat.
And what took damage and what was healed and what was
now
dead. And
in order to visualize the damage, do we have to use the counters, I suppose, on the units themselves?
No, just when you remove wounds or add wounds to units.
But if I were to delete guys instead of doing the wounds, would it show up?
Still count it.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So and the best thing with this is that you can share it with your friends. So you sort of never play alone, because in the top right corner, you have this little link button. I sent you a report of one of my previous games. You want to open that up?
Okay, we're opening up. All right, so this is a game that you played. Again, looks like we're playing some dwarfs. Now you're using the 2D terrain here, but that's fine.
Yeah, and here you can see what a full battle report would pretty much look like. Every movement, every damage, every spell that was put on.
So that was
at the end.
That was actually something we didn't cover very well. But when you have spells and casters in your lists, they actually generate these tokens, which you can then move onto the field and apply them to whomever might have them. So again, it annotates it. I didn't realize how it also will annotate the pictures in the record of the game. That's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
This is really, really, really cool. So now when Rob and I play a game, as long as we're advancing the turns and starting the game properly, you've got a record, we can talk to it. That's really, really awesome. This is a killer feature.
And you can access all your games through your when you log in the webpage there. If you click your upper right corner, it says your name there, and you see my games. There you see all your games there and the reports for your games, basically.
Well, not the first game against the Falcon, because I lost that. So we're going to ignore that game happened. But that's absolutely super cool. So all of this stays recorded. And again, as long as you're actually advancing at it, you actually have a perfect record of the game. Thank you very much. Before we conclude, I do want to highlight two things. One, Hugo has very kindly come up with a very special promotion for viewers of Square Based. I feel like I'm actually a bona fide YouTuber now. We have a promo code so that because Warhol app, you do when you create your account, you get 30 days to play with all of the features. After that 30 days, it does go to a subscription, but you can still play, right? You just lose some of the top tier features.
It's worth mentioning that the game is free in its basic form. Like most of the game, you can play the game completely fine with the free version.
Mm-hmm.
you want to have some of the cool features that we saw today, then there is the subscription. And here's where you get the 30 days free. Plus,
thanks to Hugo, all viewers of Squarebase get 25% off any of the tiers. So if you want to do for a year, monthly, whatever, it'll be 25% off. That is a promotion we're going to keep in effect until I think May 1st. After that, it will become sort of a perk of our patrons and something that anyone who signs up for our Patreon will be able to get access to is the 25% off. So thank you very much, Hugo. That's a cool thing for us to be able to do that. And then on top of that, you guys have organized a really cool introductory tournament that is kicking off, I think, in the next week. So and there will be other tournaments too, which you can always see by going to warhall.eu under the tournaments tab for the ones that you guys are organizing. But just very quickly, what are you running and how does that work?
So yeah, we're running a tournament that starts 11th of March. It's gonna go. So there's two phases. There's two phases for that tournament. There is the group stage where you are in a group with 2 other people. So you play your 2 games in a span of 3 weeks.
Okay.
3 weeks to contact your opponent, set up a time fitting for both to play those 2 games. If you end up top of the group, then you advance to the knockout stage, which that runs for 4 more weeks, where you will play, if you're able to, 4 games until the final. And we have prizes. The tournament is completely free. And as Val said, is introductory. So it's just 1,500 points. And the idea is for everybody to have fun and find some other people to play with. And
available in English and on Espanol.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's very good. And you have some really cool prizes for that. Obviously, subscriptions for Warhol for a lot of. You got tons of stuff. So like people who participate can win months. I think top prize is a free year. Really cool way to do it. And I really am excited for the potential for tournaments through Warhol, especially for big groups of international people like the Squarebase Discord. So I think going forward, this is obviously the first tournament we're going to kick off here, but I think going forward, we're going to have exclusive tournaments set up for patrons of the show. Where you can square up against certainly me. Hopefully we can get Robbo out as well, and we can play. And I'm sure, as Hugo's mentioned to me, he's going to chip in some cool prize support. I think we'll maybe throw in maybe some cool Squarebase dice or other things that we can do for the winners. But it's a great way to meet people, whether or not they're local to you or international, who love this game and share the passion and to play and to learn and have fun with it. I am just so excited to have this tool, Hugo, and I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to design it, and I hope, in a small part, that this little infomercial can add to your success, because it's already been a fantastic thing for me to get to use.
Thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoy the tool, and that it is as useful as it is to me and us other war gamers, which we enjoy it very much.
Wonderful. Anything you want to plug or wrap up? Again, you have your own Discord. I'll put that in the show notes. That's for Warhol. Hugo is at Sueko, Sueko on Discord, and he's part of the patron Discord as well for Squarebase, and has been really, really gracious and answered questions exclusively for us. But there is that, of course, the official channel if you guys want to put it in the right spot.
So are you signing up for the tournament?
For this tournament? Sure. Yes, I'll play. Absolutely.
Then I will too. I hope I see you in the.
All right. Okay.
In the playoffs, maybe.
Oh, well, I won't go that far. I won't go that far. We'll see how she goes. I've been having great luck. We can talk about the very excellent dice roller hack that Hugo also set me up with. Which is great. It's really helped me in a few games.
That doesn't exist. All my friends ask me, it doesn't exist.
He's got the promotional tab. He just clicks that for me. It's perfect. It builds my confidence tremendously. Thank you, Hugo. All right. Well, with that, I think we'll wrap up the show. Again, thank you for your time. And I hope everyone out there at least gives Warhol a shot if it's something that you think you might find useful. It's a great tool made by a great guy and a great team. So again, thank you, and stay square-based out there, folks.